Phase Zero Season 4, Episode 18 starts right now. Welcome to the show. I'm Brandon Davis, joined today by Jenna Anderson.
Hey, everybody.
We got Aaron Perrine.
I am the person uniquely suited to be your shield for this deluge of Marvel content, Brandon Davis. Let's go.
It's a good thing I brought my steel chair just in case. I like that reference. And we got a chunky show today because we got X-Men 97. You know the drill. We are going to talk about that at the end if you haven't yet watched X-Men 97's first part of its 3-part finale, which was epic, by the way. That's the phase 3 of the show. So about 30, 40 minutes from now, we'll be doing that. First phase of the show, we got a lot to talk about. Chris Hemsworth, Kraven still exists, or does it? Second part, we got Falcon Winter Soldier updates, Deadpool and Wolverine things to talk about, and a spicy nugget. And then, of course, one more break, and we will come back to talk about X-Men 97. So, yeah, all right. Everybody good to jump in? Are we ready to talk about Phase Zero things today? Or do you think it's time?
Yeah.
Without further ado, here's a little. This feels like this is like the most newsy news of the week. Like it's actually news, but also it's just like, okay, who cares? Kraven the Hunter has been delayed from whenever it was supposed to come out to December 13th, 2024. Thus, reminding us of the genius of Sony marketing. Truly. From intentional Spider-Man No Way Home leaks, which we refuse to believe are not part of the marketing back then, which made that movie a huge success. I'm just trying to give them credit to making us remember Kraven the Hunter exists without having to release anything new about it, simply by saying the release date changed. December 13th, 2024, Kraven the Hunter hits theaters. Oh my God, wait, this was also supposed to be Jenna's topic here.
I was just letting you yap. I was just letting you go ahead.
I landed back home 11 hours ago. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'm the worst.
The only thing I was going to add is, so it got delayed to December, and originally the December release date was held by the new Karate Kid movie, which has now moved into next year. And supposedly this move was made so that Karate Kid could come after the final season of Cobra Kai and was supposedly not as dependent on Kraven itself. But obviously people are still speculating now that this movie has been delayed so many times and has had, a trailer that is months and months old. The Kraven sweep just keeps getting prolonged and prolonged.
It's just, it got us to look, we're talking about it, so it worked. This is genius, right? The smartest marketing department in the world. Right?
They put it right in like Nog season. So we're there. That's gonna be a hilarious Phase Zero reaction episode. If you were there for the Madam Web one, get ready. Get ready. Unhinged is not the word. I don't know why, because there's stuff coming out in December this year. Last year, this might have been all right. You might have flourished off of this. I don't know about this year. Isn't that right next to Lion King?
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Kraven the Hunter and Lion King at the same time.
I know. I as soon as I made that connection when the change got announced, I need them to do some sort of promo kind of making fun of it. The way that the Ninja Turtles did their Barbie TV spot. I would love something leaning into that. But also when Kraven the Hunter supposedly isn't a hunter in this movie, my expectations are not high. BD is just broken.
I'm trying to stick to my goals.
And Sonic 3. That's right.
I'm trying to keep that positive energy. It's already
Sonic
May 1st.
And
what?
Lord of the Rings.
We have Sonic, we have Lord of the Rings. So many things are happening that month alongside Kraven.
Kraven, why, bro? Kraven's hunting lions, bro. Oh my God. This movie, it just I need to sit down. I am.
Well, BD, while you sit down, you can, in a couple weeks, watch Madam Web when it hits Netflix on May 14th.
Woo! Dakota Johnson, come do quarantine watch party for Madam Web. Come
gosh.
Come on the show. We'll do it. I'll do it. It's fine.
Yeah.
Oh, golly. And Brandon has nothing left to give. Somewhere Nick Valdez is like that gif of 3 people outside under the terrace going like this.
Oh no, he has been hyped.
Doing this.
I have been updating him on Madam Web. Like he is still excited.
Madam Web hits Netflix the same day as the X-Men 97 finale. Which one are you watching first?
Oh man.
Oh my god.
Wait.
Kraven the Hunter, December 13th. How many? Oh, I can't. We have to watch it.
We do.
I imagine this. Okay, but imagine this movie's really good. Like, imagine if Kraven is actually. It's like this movie slaps. I
love the track record that you have with every Sony movie, where you just like. This happens every single time. This happened with Morbius. This happens to an extent with Madam Web. Here we are again. And yet Venom 3 is just over here, just perfectly content in October. Still going to probably be a banger. So
I forgot about Venom 3.
Yeah, that's happening too.
It is.
It's happening too. I forgot all about it until you literally just said it, Jenna. It's like, oh, that's right. We have to do that. Oh, poor Brandon. He's the kombucha girl. He take one sip of that soda, he goes, ugh, and then goes, what?
Why are they doing this to us? Okay, all right. Put myself together. Let's talk about Thor.
Oh God, yeah. The things that maybe might not make Brandon cry. Vanity Fair, massive profile on our buddy Chris Hemsworth, the head of Furiosa. He's finally washed all the dye out of his beard. And they asked him about Love and Thunder, and he said he's still not exactly proud of it. He's like, I think I got caught up in the improv and the wackiness, and I became a parody of myself. I didn't stick the landing. He also said that he feels like he owes the fans another one, which is very interesting. He is too nice of a man. He's too nice of a man. You don't really owe us anything, Chris Hemsworth. You don't. Listen, drinking the amount of protein shake that you have to be that big, I wouldn't wish that on anybody. He's like eating like Joe Thomas level calories, just like, okay. So apparently he wants to come back. How does everybody feel about him talking about Love and Thunder and him talking about his Marvel career here?
I want another Thor.
You want another Thor?
At the same time, I agree with you, Aaron. I feel like he doesn't owe us anything. Like, and it's also a lot of pieces went into making Love and Thunder the movie that it was. Like, I appreciate his comments, but I also feel like it's not like we were blaming him for it. Like, there was a lot going on. But yeah, I'm glad that he has the perspective that he does now. Like, I know he's talked about like his health in the past couple of years and how that kind of reframed his career. And I know working with George Miller definitely reframed his career. And so it's like I'm glad that he's saying the things that he's saying.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad. I think Chris Hemsworth enjoys playing Thor. I think he's got a pretty logical approach to all this work. I think he's great as the character. Thor is one of the few, remaining OGs that I hope sticks around. I think we'll get a Thor 5, but I really do feel like Chris Hemsworth, I could see him sticking around in the MCU as a supporting character for Avengers films, for another 10 years. I really could see him doing that, or at least, like until the multiverse saga wraps up. Beyond that, I have trouble seeing him carrying that torch because he'll be like the only one left. And I feel like a lot of people like there's probably, it just feels like they can feel like an energy shift without, Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, and Scarlett Johansson, and all these people who they feel like they all have tattoos together. They're not there anymore. So maybe they eventually get tired of it, but I don't think Chris Hemsworth is too tired of it. I think he's just spending time with his family and doing all this stuff that sounds like he's living his life pretty well. But hell yeah, I want Thor 5. I really want Thor 5. I hope it's really good. I'm not a Thor Love and Thunder hater as much as everyone else is. I do remember that I went to that premiere, had a great time, and then I watched it again outside of the premiere. And I was like, damn, that premiere energy. I'll always own this. I got a little too excited after the premiere. I was like, man, I love this movie. And I took Richard to go see it. Richard looked like Homelander in the theater, just not having a good time at all. And I was like, man, this isn't as funny as the last time. I remember telling everybody, this is such a funny movie. This isn't funny. So I felt really awkward that it wasn't that great. And I was like, damn, I just bought into the hype of that premiere night. I think Thor 5 has a lot of potential. I think Thor is a series of hits and misses. I like the first Thor. I love Ragnarok. I love the first Thor. Dark World and Thor Love and Thunder, not so much. So they're on, like, if it's peaks and valleys, we're due for another peak in the Thor franchise.
it's funny you should bring up Downey too, because he was quoted in this Vanity Fair thing because he heard Chris being kind of hard on himself and was like, Thor is the most complex of us. The three hits in a row with Ragnarok, Infinity War, and Endgame are the most impressive internal work that any of us did as mainline Avengers in that Vanity Fair piece. So for those of you who have been following behind the scenes, me and Jenna's like follow the quotes stuff. Why is former team captain Robert Downey Jr. out here big upping his and putting over his friends again? Unless, and they also mentioned they both went to Chris Evans's wedding and saw Renner there and was happy about that. If you're just paying attention, pay attention to the background, guys. Listen, you think they didn't talk about? Hey, coming back? Who all's gonna be there for Secret Wars? Who all gonna be there? You coming? All right, I'll show up 15 minutes late. It's in the background.
There's no way they don't talk about it.
Yeah.
There's no way.
Y'all got tattoos together. If we all get tattoos, I'm gonna text y'all every week for the rest of my life.
So when are we getting our Phase Zero tattoos?
Oh man,
I know.
Jamie's excited. She's like, she heard it right now, wherever she is. She heard it. What?
Get like a big old PZ teardrop. That's what I'm gonna get. Yeah. Next time we're all in San Diego, we're gonna go straight to the tattoo shop. Somebody go get on that, Elliot. Give us a Phase Zero PZ.
Oh God.
Elliot.
All right. Well, actually, I'll go to I'm gonna come back to the Jacob Batalon bit. We have Jacob Batalon talking about Spider-Man 4, but because of the conversation, I'll just keep this going. The Russo brothers, they opened up about Robert Downey Jr. returning as Iron Man, talking to Games Radar. Anthony said, I don't know how they would do it. I don't know what that road would be. And Joe Russo added, we closed that book, so it would be up to them to figure out how to reopen it. 2 takeaways from this. 1, they're just obviously not involved anymore. Like, they see what they did with Endgame as the end. They are right. It was perfect. I love the Endgame ending. But also, maybe the Russos are a little like, hey, guys, we really wanted Secret Wars. What the hell? We don't really care about saying nice things anymore. Not that this is mean, but it's just not hopeful. It's not that typical, like, we're building something with the story. They used to be very like, well, let me teasy here. And now they're kind of just like, I don't know. We finished it, so whatever they want to do. And I don't know the context. I'm just, I don't know the tone of the interview. But
there was a lot from this interview, like updates on other projects that they have going on. So like, I don't disagree with you that might have been part of it. This is a common thing, I feel like, in superhero media, because I know even with like the CW shows, there would be certain showrunners or certain writers who would introduce a plot point and they would be like, this is up to the future writers to maybe pick this up and do something with it, or maybe they won't do anything with it at all. So it seems like that is kind of their outlook at this point. And I don't fault them for having it. It's also this thing of like, there are so many comics and so much precedent for ways to bring Downey back through the multiverse or through time travel or whatever. So it is kind of funny that they're like, I don't know how they would do that, because it's like, there are ways.
There's plenty of ways. You could have Robert Downey Jr. or you could have Tom Cruise. It doesn't matter. You could figure out a way to have Iron Man in there through all these devices that have been introduced in the past 3 years. But yeah, like we all just said, it seems like you guys are talking about this, right? It seems like just a matter of time.
I don't know. I really like your thing, because that was my first read of it too, Brandon, was that they really want to do Secret Wars, and it doesn't seem like that's going to happen, and that's annoying to them. So they're like, I don't know, stop asking us about that. And then when you ask about like Gray Man, they're like, I don't know. They ask about Extraction 3, and you're like, we're working on it. We're doing stuff.
They do that thing where they put the filmmakers over. They put the title over a little bit, even subtly, without trying to like make anything seem like too obvious or connected. They kind of would typically walk that line of like, well, we did end it, but here's a possibility. Now it's just like we don't know. Like you just said, we don't know. So
my boys are trying to do Citadel right now. They're too busy with that.
I love the Russos, especially for what they did in Marvel. But yeah. I we've had this conversation before. I would have loved to see them do Secret Wars. I think they would have been pretty good fits for it. But I'm sure whoever they find will be good. But let's talk about Spider-Man 4 again. Last week we had lots of Spider-Man 4 updates. We're not going to run through all those. That episode is available, so go download it. But Jacob Batalon was asked by Chris Killian about Ned Leeds reuniting with Spider-Man, and instead of reciting it for you, we're just going to play the clip.
Read tarot cards for Ned Leeds. Do you think they'd say he's going to see Spider-Man again?
I honestly don't know. I don't know what any future holds for any of them in that world. I just feel like if things happen, they happen. Like, I genuinely can't even. I mean, I hope so. I definitely hope so. It's sad that he has no friends anymore. So,
yeah. Yeah, it is. It's a little sad. And now there's probably going to be a Hobgoblin card in there for him. I mean, he gets so lonely. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, maybe, hopefully.
Oh, nervous laughter.
The bit of him having no friends was like, it's true, but it's a sad thing to hear, and it's a sad thing to be reminded of, that Peter has no friends.
I think they will reunite.
Yeah.
It would be such a bummer if they never touched Spider-Man again. Like, if that just the ending of No Way Home was just the end, and all he does is show up in an Avengers movie, and we're like, well, yeah, he's still out there just Spider-Manning. We just don't see him anymore. I mean, they're gonna make another one, right? They're gonna make another one, right?
Rothman seemed very intent on bringing all of them back for the next one. The last time he spoke in person, so I don't know. I mean, I don't think. Listen, the one thing I know the fans want that I feel like is still gonna happen. So don't get your stuff in a twist. But Zendaya is going to be in the next one. Okay, I don't know about Ned, but I know Tom Holland's prospective wife is probably going to be in it. And she'll probably be playing tennis.
I know the stuff Jacob has worked on has been a little quieter, not quite as mainstream as Tom and Zendaya, but Jacob's been doing some good stuff. I feel like Tom's stuff's outside of Spider-Man has, if it was a WWE reality spinoff show, it would be called Mid and Misses. And that's kind of a lot of Tom stuff. Like, it's not been great. He's done a few good things, but mostly stuff that's like, But Zendaya has had the Challengers was fantastic. So I mean, it's not like they're not booked and busy, all of them. They're not desperate for the bag, but Spider-Man has been the thing that most of them have had the most success with. And I think Zendaya is the one who's been really spreading her wings and crushing it outside of the franchise. But I think she'd be down. They'd all be down to come back. Hopefully, everybody's got a price tag anyway, but I don't know. Maybe they just have fun doing it and they want to finish the story. Wow, that was an accident, Aaron. That last one was an accident.
I understood that reference.
What's that? I just also in the comments, everybody's like, "Oh, I don't care about Ned, all the magic, blah blah blah," and it's like, I guess, guys, like
Ned having magic, I don't like that.
I know you don't. I know you don't like it.
Know.
I know you don't like it. I know, but
that was so whack.
Pandemic. I don't care. I don't know. I think it sounds bad. But like, it's not like a make or break thing. A lot of the things that Marvel fans get like hung up on, I'm just like, what goes on? I want to know what like daily challenges like happen for you. that stuff is like, what's like, oh my God, you know what I mean? But I think the Raimi movies have too much of an outsized influence on how the fandom
has too much what?
Yes,
has too much outside influence on how they like process the newer movies, because the reason Peter didn't have a bunch of friends in those is because money is a thing. And James Franco was very expensive. And so is Kirsten Dunst. And, that's why. So it's fine. I don't think there's not going to be no Black Cat. Like, I don't think that they're just going to, like, there probably aren't going to have too many surrounding characters. But it's okay for the boy to have friends. He has this hilarious cast of characters to all the early comics through college. There's like 5 or 6 Archie-looking people around Peter Parker at all times, y'all. Like,
it's a soap opera first and foremost.
It is
like,
a
that
soap
was kind
opera.
of how the comic started, and it just happened to have superpowers on the side of it. So yeah, having that element is totally fine. There's a lot of precedent.
Yeah. Well, no one knows yet, but I think it's just a matter of time. All these things are going to happen, hopefully. it's nice to have these things that we want to like. We're clear. The MCU clearly has things we're still invested in. We still want to have happen, and even we're like, you know what? Let's even be a little patient. I see people in the comments that are like, don't throw Zendaya and or Ned and MJ straight into the story right away. Let Peter be without them for a bit. You know, those are the things that I think are really people are still really invested in. I think people are, myself included, sometimes underestimate that. We're gonna take a quick break. We come back. Falcon and Winter Soldier had a big old Secret Invasion Easter egg that got deleted, but we have it. It has been undeleted. Cap 4 stuff, Deadpool, Wolverine stuff, and a spicy nug before X-Men 97. Subscribe to the channel. See you in a moment. Welcome back to Phase Zero. Falcon and Winter Soldier had a deleted scene. Now that it's getting that physical media release, the deleted scenes and bonus features are starting to trickle out. So I believe it's already out, right? It's on Blu-ray and Steelbook now. Yeah. But so that came with deleted scenes. One of those deleted scenes was released online, and we have it here. So let's just play the clip, and then we'll talk about it.
You know, armor beats wings, Sam.
Right.
I got lasers, all kind of Stark tech. Yeah, that's it. That's how you do it.
Push.
Exactly.
Is that how you fly?
Exactly.
Speaking of which, look like you're moving around pretty good now.
Oh yeah. That upgraded procedure. Haven't had to wear the hardware for a minute now. Feels a lot better, I tell you.
Hey, look, man. I know I didn't say it before. I know we talked about it, but...
Sam, don't. Come on. But I'm gonna be mad at you because you dodged out of the way? To be honest, as bad as you fly, I'm surprised you didn't dip right back into Vision's beam.
First of all, I like the Captain America Civil War reference, but also clearly a reference to Secret Invasion setting up the scroll twist with Rhodey, which the whole world was a huge fan of. Really well received moment. The internet was so happy that day. So crazy that this was deleted. But okay. So, but clearly, yes, the reference to Rhodey using his legs well, and Sam noticing that, and Rhodey does a little pep in his step right there at the museum, hinting that they did have this sort of Rhodey twist seated, maybe? Is that what we're taking from this?
I was going to say, I don't even see this as confirmation that they had that in the works this early on. I almost think it might have been a thing of like, well, we're just going to have this little moment in here to justify why we don't need to have Rhodey in leg braces every single time we see him or something. Like there's certainly a lot of precedent for making little changes like that in a TV show to just kind of like move on from a thing. But I don't know. Who knows?
Me and Charlie went through and looked through every single Don Cheadle interview for a year and a half, and he consistently led people on. He lied to Brandon Davis's face on 2 separate occasions, months apart, in the exact same manner. I find it hard to believe that this was not seeding that, especially it's an advanced procedure, and then having his. I don't know if the uniform next to Rhodey on the right side of the screen. I don't know if that was an American uniform. It might have been one of the people Captain America fought against. It's good blocking if it is, but yeah, it would have been nice to have. And I think what I've learned about this franchise over the last 3 or 4 years is that they should always leave that kind of crap in these things because that matters more to people than the actual shows. Unfortunately, it's true.
It's also just an adorable scene. Like, just seeing them interact with each other is just very nice. And I almost wish we had even more of that in the show.
Yeah, my initial reaction was the tinfoil hat that hosts Phase Zero and is constantly looking for things to talk about on Twitter and YouTube was that it's the Easter egg of, Secret Invasion. He can walk because he's a Skrull. But then I also had the thought of like, maybe they just didn't want to have Don Cheadle wear something all the time. Like the dude's going to be walking anyway as Rhodey. So maybe this is the same as Thor getting an eye, that kind of thing, for the sake of convenience and ease on set. But I don't know. I'm kind of split. I don't know which way this one goes.
We may never know the answer, unfortunately.
But I've been lied to so many times, like Aaron said, that I don't even know what's real anymore.
Yeah, I mean, literally, there's 2 straight times. Me and Charlie went through it. It was great. It was very funny. We were like giggling by the end of it. I'm like, he just wanted us to ask him. He just wanted to tell somebody. He couldn't tell anybody anything. It's like
he wanted help. He knew.
It's
he
so
wanted somebody
long.
to help him.
Like at D23, which JB was at, which she's not here today.
Jamie
Like he absolutely set it down the barrel of the camera. It's insane. So I don't know. Like it's very, very funny. I feel like, unfortunately, these sort of, I think Jenna's right. These kind of flavor text moments between the two of them, like, is what a lot of was missing from those shows. And also, I cannot imagine having Don Cheadle on set for 2 days and then not having him be a part of the final battle, at least for 2 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if we have him here, I think that should be a thing going forward too. If you can get somebody to come in for 2 days or a day and record anything, and there is an action sequence, the fans would appreciate said Avenger helping other Avenger whenever applicable. That would go a long way too. So I don't know.
We're going to keep it in this pocket of the MCU for the next one, but I do want to preface this before you kick this off, Aaron. So this is like one of those things like, well, is it a spoiler? Why you guys talk? This is something that you're going to see at your local McDonald's long before Captain America Brave New World comes out. It's all over Twitter and everything, but also genuinely, like, this is obviously part of promotional materials if it's part of Happy Meals. Granted, it's very early for this stuff to be out there, but it is some character confirmations and maybe reveals depending how you see this. So we're going to talk about it. We're going to show images of it. They're out there. They're going to be, like I said, they're going to be at McDonald's. They're probably going to be at Walmart. They're going to be all over the place, these things. So they're part of the promo. But if you don't want to know anything, we will keep this to under 5 minutes here and we will move on. So go ahead, mute, jump ahead if you're listening in podcast form. But this is Captain America Brave New World stuff that hit the internet recently. I think ahead of schedule, but still was always going to come ahead of the movie.
It's only ahead of schedule because the movie got delayed.
Right.
Like, if the movie had its original release date, this would be perfectly timed and people would be getting their Happy Meals and then going to the movie in like a week or two. But we are not in that reality. The movie got delayed to next February. So now they just clearly did not stop the McDonald's campaign. And so we have these toys already.
It's true. Spoiler alert. So yeah, you've gotten a wonderful preface from my co-host. Thank you guys for actually clearing our butts too. But yeah, Peter. So you got a look at young Anthony Mackie in his brand new Captain America suit and Joaquin Torres as the Falcon, which people were like arguing about for some reason on the internet. I feel like it's very consistent with the Falcon design from these previous movies, and the Falcon in the books is a whole different kettle of fish that Jenna would have to record a TikTok short about why it looks different. So I'm not going to do that. But
I will say, it's just that the costume looks busy. Like, I do like the costume, but I feel like there's a lot to it that probably they could have streamlined it a little bit more, and it would look a little more comic accurate in the process. It's just that there's so much on it. It looks physically heavy.
But you know what I mean when I say there's a reason that it can't
I'm not even
like
talking about that aspect. I'm just talking about purely, like, there are valid complaints about the design of the costume itself.
If you go back and look at Civil War and Winter Soldier and the design of Anthony Mackie's first Falcon suit and put them side by side, I feel like you get a little bit of why it looks the way it does. I mean, listen, I know Jenna's like, I want it to look like the thing. First of all, Danny Ramirez did a bunch of sit-ups. He did a bunch of bicep curls. He was in the gym. If anybody wanted to have all of this out, I would let him go full force on it, but apparently they didn't want to go that direction.
I think
Listen,
that's also
Internet.
the complaint people are having.
Internet, if you want the deep V, just say it.
That's right. Listen, it's Challengers Weekend. It's still going on. The thirst is real on these internet streets. So yeah, this happened. Are we showing the other part of it too?
Yeah, we have both of the big.
Okay, yeah. Go ahead, give me
toys.
We got toys. You know, and there's Red Wig, and like I laughed too because me and Jenna were like going through and being like, "Who in the world? Really?" Really?
Yeah, because full disclosure for people just listening, the initial picture of the McDonald's toys is in another language. And so Aaron and I had texted this to Aaron like a week or two ago when it first surfaced online. And it was like, really? These characters? Like finding out in this context is the funniest possible way.
Every time there's a toy or merch drop and it spoils something, Jenna and me immediately start laughing with each other because of the recurring bit on this show. And I love that you guys tag us whenever it happens, where someone's like, did a crab rag these goods? And I'm like, who's to say? Who's to say, Molly?
So one of them, for context, says Cascavel, which is Portuguese for rattlesnake, which I believe will translate to Diamondback,
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
A new villain who's coming to the MCU. It also had Red Hulk in there. It had, a new Falcon toy, multiple Captain Americas, and Ruth.
Yes.
So that people think that might be Sabra, who was announced when the movie was announced at D23, and who is a very controversial, complex character. And so people might think that she might just be going by the name Ruth in the movie.
Interesting. Okay,
And
so those are all out there.
The origin of it might be a little bit different too. I'm hoping for various reasons that maybe, just maybe, we get a little bit of a MCU remix. Or, man, you know what? You can see some different character. That'd be easy. That's fun. There's 8 million S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. Jamie can tell you all of them.
But yeah, so those are out there. If you want to find them, I'm sure you can go on Twitter and search it. It's pretty, they're on websites. It's on comicbook.com/Marvel. These images
There's a
are everywhere
commercial.
now.
Like there's a full-blown commercial. So
I'm gonna be honest. The one thing I'm very interested in is the Happy Meal box itself with the Captain America shield on it. I'm like, that thing looks kind of dope. I might have to go, order me a Happy Meal one of these days.
You are in training.
Right.
You're not supposed to be eating Happy Meals.
I know, dude. Listen,
it's a cheat day.
The food reason. By the time this movie, well, wait, when do these hit? Are they out at McDonald's right now?
Yeah, there are people who have them right now. Yeah.
People have gotten them this week.
Look at PD. He's like, we're going to drive to McDonald's right now on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm about to sit here, calculate those calories and be like,
you've earned it.
Oh, God. All right. That'll wrap up our Cap America Brave New World segment. No more about that if you didn't want to hear it from this point forward. And somehow, if you timed it perfectly and just rejoined, welcome back. No more Cap 4 McDonald's toy discussion. Don't go to McDonald's if you don't want to see a spoiler for Captain America 4.
Good luck.
Yeah, seriously.
So speaking of other spoilers for upcoming movies or lack thereof, so Sean Levy did an interview with the Associated Press, and he said that Deadpool and Wolverine doesn't have homework. He said, I very much made this film with certainly a healthy respect and gratitude towards the rabid fan base that has peak fluency in the mythology and lore of these characters in this world, but I didn't want to presume that. This movie is built for entertainment with no obligation to come prepared with prior research. Aaron and I have been talking about this a lot because, first of all, it's also funny having this quote come out when we are almost nearly done rewatching and doing our homework for all of the Fox first movies. Like, that is just hilarious in and of itself. But it's interesting to make that comment when you have the TVA, when you have all of these little Easter eggs from other things. Like, I'm curious to see how that all is still accessible while still being as deep as it is.
Imagine watching this movie with never having seen a Marvel thing before. Like, people will do that. I'm sure somebody will do that.
They will. Yeah.
But like at this point, if you have seen nothing of the Marvel Cinematic Universe and nothing of the X-Men universe, first of all, how have you avoided all of that? And yet you're going to see Deadpool and Wolverine. Like, it's not like this is for kids, like where like a 9-year-old could just, be starting watching movies for the first time. This is R-rated. This is adults. Everybody in there is going to be 17 and up. Y'all saw something before. But anyway, also, if you haven't seen this stuff, you are going to be looking around a lot like, why is it?
Why is there
it's funny. Yeah. Okay. I get it. Like, when you're a kid and you're watching Austin Powers and you're laughing because everyone else is laughing and you swear the movie's so funny, but you really don't understand what the jokes mean. That's what it's going to be like watching Deadpool and Wolverine as somebody who's never seen a Marvel movie before, if that's the case. But
you broke Aaron.
This guy, like, who's like obviously like laughing at like it's a Tim Robinson's sketch. He's just like, yeah.
It's clearly the last person to laugh every time. Yeah, like, yeah, no, I totally got that one. That was from the for sure. Yeah, no, that's what's gonna be. Like, you would be that person. No. Yeah.
But see, the funny thing is, like, okay, Bible Live presentations in the comments is like, see, relax, you can enjoy the movie without going through all the media, relax. I mean, that's all of these. That's all of these. I like, for craps and giggles, because someone at the site basically wrote about this, and I love that. Mm-hmm. And they also pinpointed one of my favorite Slate pieces ever, where they sent two of their culture critics who had never seen an MCU thing to watch Endgame and give their read of it. It was amazing. That's what digital media was in 2019. You could do that and get paid to do it. So, and that was funny because they just didn't know what was going on. They were doing the Brandon Davis, like, why is everybody cheering for this raccoon? Who is this raccoon? Why does he talk like, American Sniper? I'm confused. Like, because Joker hadn't come out yet. It's very, very weird to get like all these weird things. If you added up the amount of stuff that you would have to have seen to have 100% grasp, completely be lockstep with the rest of the audience here, it dwarfs the Marvels by like a mile.
Yeah.
It's so much more complicated. You have to watch seasons 1 and 2 of Loki. You got to watch almost all the X-Men stuff. I'll spare you. Don't have to watch, like, I don't think you have to watch New Mutants or Dark Phoenix, but who knows? Maybe you will. Both the Deadpools, right? And is there anything else? And yeah, like that, it's a lot, but you're not going to need it to enjoy anything, but you don't need that for all these other movies anyway. A lot of this stuff is social media driven, where it's like, how are they going to explain this? Blah, blah, blah. If you haven't seen the 2 TV series or whatever, bruh, try explaining Logan's arc in these X-Men movies to someone who's never seen them. Yeah. Please. All you need to know is he's Hugh Jackman with blade claws, and you'll be good. You'll be all right. Yeah. It's just very funny that, like,
I think what Sean Levy is saying is true. You don't have to have seen all these other things to have fun watching Deadpool and Wolverine. And that seems to be the message Marvel is starting to have to send, because they keep getting that feedback of it's too much. There's homework. There's all this stuff. There's chores. We have to watch all this stuff to get it.
So funny.
But at the same time, I think it's
so much more homework than everything else that's come before besides the
Yeah, if you want to get the maximum experience, there is a ton of stuff to watch, and luckily for us, we're going to get that, I think. But I think you don't have to have that to understand this movie.
Yeah.
And so the Marvels didn't get that sort of grace from people when they were like, "Well, we could go watch this without seeing Wanda." There was a very loud complaint, whereas now people seem to just be having fun with it. But that, man, I don't know.
As I said, people are going to do this based on what they like, and they're going to make exceptions for the crap that they like over the other stuff and give it all kinds of benefit of the doubt that these other projects will not get. And that is something inescapable. And I don't know how you really get out of that.
Well, it's also, I also think Deadpool and Wolverine have transcended into mainstream in a way that most Marvel characters have not yet, especially Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. And it's been said, like, this is such a... What?
That's the biggest draw of the movie to me.
Wolverine?
I'm pretty sure to a casual audience. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Yeah. And then you put the two of them together.
Like, what do you mean Hugh Jackman's playing Wolverine again? 2 weeks after the Super Bowl when he saw the trailer? Like,
yeah, exactly. That's the thing that's getting people. It's like, I don't think Deadpool 3 is $1 billion movie in 2024 if Wolverine's not in it. But he is. So I have no doubt this movie's going to surpass $1 billion. And I think it's just because these two characters, especially them together, and you have Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman, who are widely beloved. I mean, like, you don't see people say bad things about these guys. They're just, people love Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman, and people really like these characters. And it's, this is 20 years of you have at least some familiarity with Wolverine, Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, 25 years almost. So it'll be interesting. All right, we're running really late here, so let's get to our last segment here before X-Men 97. Spicy nugget of the week.
Oh, drop my basket, Peter. Drop my basket. Oh my goodness. So speaking of, hey, you might have to do some homework. Hey, you might have to watch some Fantastic Four stuff too, because people realize Michael B. Jordan reshared the trailer for Deadpool and Wolverine and might have deleted it afterwards. So,
oh no, he deleted it.
I think so.
That's when you know.
Uh,
Oh man. Oh
Listen,
man. Oh my.
Luckily, there's only one Josh Trank Fantastic Four movie for you to watch, so you're good. It's a quick, breezy experience. You'll be in and out real quick. You know, what's 2 more hours on the 46 hours you're gonna have to take to watch this movie? You know, it is what it is. Yo, Brandon's like, chill, Aaron, calm down, calm down.
There's so many things you guys are forcing on me today.
I am just amazed because, like, it takes a lot to share a thing to your Instagram story. Like, there are a lot of extra buttons into that process now. So it's not even like, oh, he meant to, like, just like the trailer and accidentally shared it or something. So, yeah, that is suspicious.
I'm not trying to throw shade, but this is the same Michael B. Jordan who was racing on the streets and crashed into a parked car, right? Was that him?
Yeah.
He might have just got excited and been like, "Oh, I did this movie. Let me share this." And then somebody was like, "Hey, man, don't be doing that." We're glad he's okay. We're glad he's giving out hints. But I like Michael B. Jordan. But also, everybody's thinking about Fantastic Four. That man's played another character.
That's what the chat's saying. People are bringing
like,
up
Killmonger. And that would be hysterical if we all expected it to be Human Torch, and then it's out walks Killmonger. Like, what?
Of course, Human Torch makes sense. It's a Fox property, and this seems to be exploring lots of Fox stuff. But Ant-Man's in there, his old big ass dead body. You know, we got the Red Skull hot rod with an Iron Man logo on it. So clearly they're blending them both, but they're leaning into the Fox stuff in the marketing. But yeah, Michael B. Jordan as the Human Torch would be, man, that would be something. They would.
Him and Evan standing across from each other would break the internet. I'd have Jenna go into Tumblr in her suit and go find me all the reshares and see what the metrics would be, because it would be nuts.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to take a quick 1-minute break. Great opportunity to subscribe to the channel, youtube.com/c/phase0, and leave a 5-star review on the podcast platforms. When we come back, it's X-Men 97, episode 8. This is part 1 of the 3-part finale. I'll repeat all that in about 60 seconds so you know what we're talking about. Full spoilers ahead. See you there. Welcome back to Phase Zero. This is our X-Men 97 portion of the show. Almost 1,000 people watching live across all platforms. That's very cool. Great opportunity to subscribe to the Phase Zero YouTube channel. Thank you for joining us every week. Really is really fun to me. I met a couple people when I was in LA just now for Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes who came up and they were Phase Zero listeners, and it always blows my mind when they say something specific about something we say, and I'm like, damn, you really actually do listen to the show. So to all of you, genuinely, I always think that's so cool. Shout out to Gio. I just met a few people over there at Century City who just came up and said hi. Happened to just walk past a few folks, and they were all really nice. It's also like I feel like I'm just like meeting friends who have met me, but I've never met them before. I don't know. It's cool. Anyway, but thank you for that, guys. Thank you for listening all the time. We love you guys for that. X-Men 97, episode 8 dropped. It is part 1 of the 3-part finale, all titled Tolerance is Extinction. And this feels like the beginning of the 3rd act of season 1. in a lot of ways. So we're going to break it down, give it a review score out of 10. But first, just reactions all around. Aaron, what'd you think of this episode?
See, this is why you save the 10s. This is why you save the 10s. Because I feel like this episode is both stronger than a lot of the stuff we gave 9s and 9.5s and stuff. And it's also just a taste, because obviously things are going to get more crazy than they already are. I was having a time. I had to pause this thing like 3 times. And I was like, man, they are just swinging for the fences. It's like Matt Reeves in the Batman, Jenna, where we might not get to make season 2. Let's just do all of it. Listen. It's exhibit on Pimp My Ride in 2001. We're putting a fish tank. We put dubs on this thing. Like, there's a washing machine in this bad boy. It's all of it. I really enjoyed this.
Jenna, what'd you think?
I was expecting this to just be a long movie split into 3 episodes. There were like 5 times at this episode where I thought it was just going to credits roll. We're done. We're going to deal with everything else next week. And the fact that it kept going and it kept building from there was just insane. Like, I agree with what Aaron said. I think that they are just really throwing everything at the wall. Initially, this episode took a couple minutes to really like get going for me, but once it did, it was just unbelievable.
I'm noticing a trend here with some of the better episodes of this show, like my favorite episodes. They all start a little bit slow, a little bit more, very character-driven, dialogue-heavy, almost exposition. But I think the writing is so good here that it has been so rare that something feels like blatant exposition. And then these final 10 minutes, they're like, boom, back, pow. Like, here's all this crazy stuff, crazy action sequences, just awesome, impactful moments for the series. And that felt like episode 5 definitely felt that way. And this one really felt that way as well. I thought it was really good. It, like I said, to open this, it feels like the start of the 3rd act. It also feels like the 1st act of the 3rd act in a sense. Like, it's just clearly things have changed. That beast mentality that has been slowly shifting, and after Genosha clearly has tilted towards the title of this episode, Tolerance is Extinction. The Magneto was right line, showing the shift forced upon the X-Men, who were not going to be enemies to humans, and now they're kind of like, yo, listen, yo, you left us no choice. So it seems more like now they're just in survival mode, and this is just great stuff, great storytelling, and also just so reflective of our world in a weirdly specific and accurate allegory type of way, given that this was written probably 3-4 years ago.
Yep.
But I think that's just not just a sign of what's happening in the world and how that's reflecting now, a sign of the evergreen nature of the elements, the things that X-Men have always been able to tackle, and how history it's evergreen, not in a good way. It's because history keeps repeating itself, even in the negative ways that we humans just refuse to learn from. And the mutants are trying to represent the evolution of getting past repeating stupid mistakes and treatment of people. And so I find it crazy though how specifically on the nose it is in the allegory it represents for what's happening in today's world right now. But yeah, anyway. The episode starts with at the mansion, right? And Scott is like looking at the picture of Xavier basically being a dad to all the kids in the X mansion. And he's just like, wow, I gotta figure that out myself, huh? And he does a pretty good job by the end of this episode.
The Summers family dynamic made this episode for me. Like, on top of all of the moments that we will be talking about of like the Magneto was right and whatever, but just getting the 3 of them together, and just also getting Jean to kind of talk about what Madeline meant to her and what this weird family dynamic is, I was over the moon.
I'm not a big Cable person, but having him be an overgrown teenager with his stepdaddy and his stepmama is funny as all get out. That's really good characterization for someone like me who doesn't immediately just go, oh boy. Like, shout out to on Twitter, who pointed out this morning, somebody in our Slack was like, yo, Todd and Rob being completely normal about this on social media, as you would expect from people who were big during that era where Cable was huge. But yeah, poor Jamie, she's not here to dog on Cyclops. I ain't got nothing bad to say about Mr. Summers right now. I'm like,
whoa. Maybe that's why she's not on the show today, because you can't be hating on Scott today. All right.
You have missed the weeks of discussion where Jamie has made her opinions about Scott very clear. It's been great. I still love her, even though we completely disagree.
Oh man.
I'm not a Cyclops hater. I never will be.
Oh.
What else we got here? Oh, Bastion. This man, yo. Okay, Bastion is a bad guy. We touched on Bastion last week after the reveal. This episode really kind of went into his backstory and largely followed the comics and what kind of like added to it. Like it kind of added its own. It changed like the very origin because his dad did not get that virus in the comics, but so they kind of like fast tracked it because that would have been a whole longer story to tell. But I thought that the way they kind of showed us that he is an amalgamation of all these threats to mutants in super form was a really interesting thing to do.
Yeah, I kind of touched on it last week of like initially he becomes a human stepping through this portal and it's this whole very convoluted thing that works in the comics, but I get that would have been a little bit more difficult to convey in a flashback of an animated show. So I like the way that they did that. Bo DeMaio also pointed out on social media that there is you can see his mom earlier in the original series. Like there's a specific character in the background of one of the episodes and it's like that we now know that was Bastion's mom.
Wow. Wait, did he say where that was? I got to pull up.
I don't have the tweet pulled up, but yeah, it was a specific episode. She's like a receptionist or something, just like in the background. And now you know who she is.
I wonder what would happen if we asked Bo DeMaio to like do an interview with us or something. Because I don't know if that's like they took him off the press tour and stuff. I don't know if that would be crossing a line or something, but I would love to hear that man's thoughts on this. I don't know. His insights on Twitter have been interesting.
Yeah.
I also really enjoy for the Bastion of it all because Jenna's right. The having to try and do an explainer and not be Kofi Outlaw and try to explain 15 years of Bastion last week was not fun at 8 a.m. in the morning. I was like, this is really complicated. Like, how are people? But he figured out a way. Bo and the team, they have to really give him credit. They really streamlined it. They also added to me his theming and his character arc is supposed to mirror Roberto. In a weird sort of way where he's like self-hating, you know what I mean? In like a weird way where you have the exact sort of experience that like Scott or Gene specifically would have like in being a young mutant and then being ostracized for it. And instead of going like, you know, I can assimilate or whatever, he's like, no, we gotta get rid of him. I can't have this be, we have to get normal, you know. So I look forward to We Don't Want to Hear You Say Mutant No More by Xavier at the end of this. That's going to be tremendous.
Sorry, I was trying to find that tweet. I kind of zoned out on what you guys.
It was one man's worth. The chat has pointed that out. So
that's the homework ep, the rewatch. Yeah, One Man's Worth Part 1 and 2.
Yeah, that was the one that Bastion's parents are in. That we now know they're Bastion's.
Oh. Okay, yes. Okay, got it. Thank you, Jordan Stone, and everyone who dropped that in the comments. I just checked. Sorry, I was trying to find that tweet, but I couldn't find it. Bastion was in most episodes of this series so far. And the drawing that Gene saw in episode 1 is the drawing that we see, you know, that sparks all this understanding and this kind of history lesson of Bastion when she touches it and interacts with it and uses her powers. And he was the buyer for the Friends of Humanity in that first episode that led to that epic action scene. And he's also been in most episodes since then, just like kind of passing or having his little hands and stuff. So that's interesting. The world finds out Xavier is alive in this episode, and it went exactly how we thought it would go. They're pissy. They think it's a conspiracy. You got William Stryker on the news talking his trash about, you know, the mutants are going to lead an alien invasion. Blah, 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 blah. My son is a mutant, but I'm not going to tell you that, according to the X-Men movies. But yeah, so that was interesting. I still don't understand why the mutants like acted amongst themselves like Charles was dead, but I understand, like, you know, they turned him into a martyr. They used it for goodwill, all this stuff. It was like a kind of a political play, but now it's kind of blowing up in their faces because Bastion is a freaking manipulator and it's crazy about it. So that was interesting. Oh, hold on a second. Touchy subject for me here. Gambit's really dead.
Yeah. Man,
like, Gambit is like dead and seemingly now I know, listen, it could have sometime in the future. I know Morph died in episode 1 of the series, and here we are. But Gambit's like buried, right? Morph was just kind of left behind. So Cable said, every time I try to stop Genosha, I get pulled back, like we saw when he talked to Madeline Pryor.
That's my hypest moment of the entire episode is Beast going, yo, there's a thing in Camotage called Absolute Points. And I was like, yes.
Canon event. Yes. I wish the MCU would embrace the term canon event. I'm not going to lie.
Me too.
But yeah, Absolute Point, Camotage. There's clearly lots of larger Marvel World references in this episode. Spider-Man shows up by the end. But yeah, that all is to say the canon event of this freaking series is Gambit dies.
See, I didn't see it as Gambit specifically dying. I just saw it as Genosha's massacre. Like, there could be iterations of it that happen where a completely different set of characters die and it still impacts the team in the same way. I don't know.
God.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I don't know exactly where we're going with that, but if you see the Watcher and something bad happens, we should probably just assume now in any MCU thing that that's not getting undone, which is wild because Jamie, I didn't see the Watch on the background during Multiverse of Madness. You might be all right, girl. You might be all right.
I for sure thought Gambit was going to come back to life before the end of the season when that happened, but now I don't.
Jake was he was like, I mean, Gambit's really dead. And I was like, okay, but you have to say that. And now I'm like, oh, wow, he might have been telling the truth. That's wild.
What the hell, guys?
We still have 2 more episodes left. Something could still happen. I don't know.
The big return, the big surprise, I think, is going to be Storm showing up the last minute, Thor and Wakanda style.
Yeah.
And she's going to save a bunch of butts.
Such a nerd. That seems like him absolutely in his wheelhouse. Like
Val Cooper. I've seen so many people suspecting Val of being Mystique, and she frees Magneto, but ultimately says it's because she's fed up with just seeing these terrible things happening, and Genosha pushed her over the edge, and now this plan that Bastion has is just too much for her to bear. I guess kind of really leans into her not like when she started talking to Magneto, I was like, oh, are you going to transform? And then she never did, so maybe she's just actually Val Cooper.
I feel like that scene works really, really well either way. I think that if they wanted to, at some point before the end of the season, be like, oh, she was Mystique, and that actually reverse engineers this whole thing, that there's enough there. Nothing really counteracts it. But I do think if she is just a human and this is the arc that she's on, it is a really, really good arc in and of itself.
As a narrative device, having Magneto be persuasive enough that he even convinces his enemies that he's correct makes him absolutely morally, or at least, well, sort of morally justified in whatever is about to happen. Because I don't think Dad Nito is done. He ain't even put a shirt on again. He's not done yet.
The action in this episode was awesome, specifically Nightcrawler and Wolverine.
Yes.
That fight with them in the mansion where they had the nine claws, basically, phenomenal. But the moment that really seals it is when you see the perspective of Nightcrawler teleporting.
Yeah.
From the that was just
I was losing my mind. It's so cool.
Oh, so good. And then Wolverine fighting through the sky, just slicing through these humanoid sentinel things, like, oh my god!
It's good to have adamantium knees. It's good.
The thing about these little humanoid sentinel things that all signed up to go become basically mutant killers and then have their mind wiped, it's just we live in a world that we like can understand that people would go do this shit. Like, it's just so too easy to believe, and that, like, it's just genius writing. It's such a genius way of making this allegory for the world we live in. It's scary. It's honestly quite scary. And it is resulting in one heck of a story. Now, I felt a little overwhelmed and kind of cheesied out by the fact that there were so many humans that suddenly were like flying and turned into sentinels. I thought that was like a lot at once, but also it fits the story of what they're telling. So I was like, okay, cool.
I was this close, but I watched it way too early in the morning to texting Jenna. And I'm like, Paul Dano somewhere watching, like, I should have did that. You know, because it's the same sort of plot point. I was like, man, this keeps happening. It's funny. You know, it's happened once, but it's weird it's happened twice.
And I eat it up every single time. Like
Right.
having
Like,
that
oh, no.
having that allegory and being able to find two completely different ways to do it, but doing it like I think that's part of why it works really well to have that many human sentinels just kind of pop out of the woodwork, because it makes you realize like, oh, there are that many people in the everyday life who might believe that mentality. And like that is chilling in and of itself.
I expected Roberto's mama to be flying by the
Oh,
this
me
episode,
too.
and she wasn't.
Me too.
And I was like, wow, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
I thought that too. I think that makes her a more interesting character that she wasn't as well, because it shows like she wants to be accepting deep down, but ultimately she's like feeling so societally pressured and financially pressured to do what the news tells her to do, or what, these other like this the wrong side of this evolution is telling her to do. And so I think that leads to a very interesting character arc being presented for her as well, if they choose to go that way with her, to like kind of be like, okay, how do I choose a side here? And hopefully she chooses her son and chooses, but like that makes for a very interesting arc, I think, where a character can be a little unpredictable. That's the sort of entertaining drama that this all presents. Patricia Tilby being a Sentinel, I thought was interesting, because that just shows like this journalist, news reporter who presented herself almost as an ally until the mask started coming off a bit after Genosha, was also willing to go throw on the red cap too, basically. And like when nobody was looking, and then it comes out. I was like, really? That was great. That part surprised me.
I have to be very careful how I put this, because I laughed about it too, because I'm like, man, oh man, in real life too, people who would not see your humanity, they got a thing for the blue fur. They do. That sometimes happens. That occurs. Thank you, Brandon. I appreciate it. Castle
We
rest.
get what you mean.
Castle rest. Go on.
Jubilee got a new costume.
Yeah.
One of my faves, by the way, too. I
love her priorities of like all of this bad stuff has been happening, and like Roberto is feeling ostracized by his mom, but like let's go shopping. I need a new outfit in this time of like crisis.
Brandon still shook. I got you.
Sometimes I'm blown away by the way with words the co-hosts here on Phase Zero have. It's impressive. I love this show.
I love the show too. That's why I'm trying to get us fired. JK, get us up out of here. But like, I love it.
And you said the quiet part just loudly enough.
Just a decibel higher. It was like, okay, we're in a meeting. God.
Yeah. Okay, we are way over on time. We got to wrap up these bullet points here. Give the 10 score. The Summers family ripping through the caves, driving like basically a Porsche, but unlicensed, so it had a fake brand on it. Was awesome. The license plate said Slim. That was like Scott's original name in comics. That was really cool. It was SL1M, I think it was. But that was a cool reference. I love seeing the three of them work together as a family unit in action. That was dope. There was Stark Expo Easter egg in Bastion's house. That was there right next to like a little Sentinel bobblehead, it looked like, as well. Spider-Man showed up. That was awesome. Dr. Doom, Zemo made cameos. Peter did the best episode ever thing behind the curtain there. Shout out to Peter. I know he's happy this morning. Omega Red, Silver Samurai also showed up. Maybe they're going to play a part going forward. But clearly there is a much larger universe happening here, as we've always known with the X-Men, the animated series. But they're playing with it, and I'm hoping this builds to a sort of Avengers versus X-Men. I would love to see that be like season 3, but I also hope that they can do these seasons every year instead of every 2 years. That would be such a gift, but who knows with this animation? I know it's not easy to crank out. Anything else real quick about this episode you guys want to talk about?
People in the chat are confused about the technovirus and how the people were made into Sentinels. Like the episode does explain it, but I get how it is kind of confusing. It's the same virus that Sinister gave to Nathan when he was a baby. And so like they were able to evolve it and turn these people into the human Sentinel hybrids. We're just calling them Sentinels just to streamline the conversation, really.
Right. So is there a chance that like Cable and Bishop might have created this sort of thing or helped accidentally make it in the future? And they're like, because like Cable might have been trying to figure out what happened to him. And they might be, that sort of Tony Stark responsibility type thing.
Yeah.
Could be.
It's also weird that Bishop's not with him. because they got lost in the time stream together. But obviously, someone's pulling you back when you try to stop Genosha, so that you have to watch your mom die over and over and over and over again. So that's interesting too. The other thing that's weird that I'm like, that's like still in the background that we're not focusing on because all this other awesome stuff is, what's the name? Onslaught?
Yeah.
I feel like that's absolutely still on the board. 100%.
The what?
He experimented on Magneto when he captured Magneto, and now Charles is back on Earth.
Yep.
So I feel like there's possibility there. Both giant nerd. If we got the big robotic version of Nimrod on screen, anything is still in the cards.
Are we going to like a Magneto versus Xavier finale here? Like, do you think Xavier came back to Earth at the end of this episode and he's like, listen, I saw all the really terrible things that were committed against the mutants, and I still want to try to just save this relationship with humans, and I will have an alien race back me to be friends with humans here after Magneto just turned the lights out worldwide. If it and I don't know where Xavier is going to stand, and I think that's going to be really interesting in episode 9.
Yeah, I could see that being like part of the conflict, but then ultimately they probably like team up to fight Bastion by the end of it. I don't know.
Bam. Yeah, Bastion's back. All my homies hate Bastion. All right, real quick, out of 10, Aaron, you're at the top. What are you giving this episode out of 10?
10 out of 10. This is what you want from superhero television, at least on my side of things. This is punching so far above its weight class, you can't even really put words to it.
Jenna, where are you at with this one?
I'm going to say a 9.9. I know I've given 2 10s earlier in the season, and I still stand by those. I think just personally, those episodes were a smidge stronger for me. But like I said, this episode started a little slow, but once it got going, it was incredible.
I'm sitting at I'd say 9.5 out of 10. Because I think that the only thing this one is lacking by comparison to episode 5 is the sort of emotional punch. Like, I was very invested. It has emotions, but the depth of the emotions doesn't quite go as far as 5. And like Aaron said earlier in the show, you got to save those 10s for when you feel like it really has all of that. And for me, like, this is a phenomenal episode. To give it a 9.5 is, I hope everybody's understanding. I think this is phenomenal. So divided by 3, we've got a 9.8 out of 10 for X-Men 97 episode 8. And I think these next 2 episodes are just going to blow us away. Like, if this was how we started the finale, the 3-part thing, woo! Also, thank you so much, Disney Plus, for doing this weekly rather than a binge dump. That would have, I haven't watched Fallout because I'm not going to sit and watch 8 hours. I'm just not going to. I know myself, and maybe eventually I'll get around to it. I've seen all the hype. It looks fun, but I'm not a binger. And I know that's like sacrilege to some folks who really love the binge model, but it's not for me. I like this discussion. I like watching one at a time, sitting with it, rewatching it, all that stuff. And this show has been a blast to do that with. We have 2 more. I know Fallout is worth it, GeekFi. I see how good everybody says it is. I finally watched Anyone But You on a plane yesterday, and everybody's been talking about how good that was, and it was pretty fun, actually. I enjoyed it. So it turns out the internet sometimes is but only sometimes. Jenna, any last words for today's show?
It's at Hey It's Jenna Lynn on social media, and as always, go read some comics.
Aaron Perrine.
It's at Summit Lake Hornet. Go read all of comicbook.com's coverage of this, of the apes. Go watch all the weird coverage and, Brandon becoming a falconer. And Jamie says hello.
Yes.
Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes junket was an absolute blast. Thank you for Disney. Thank you to Disney for having us at that. We will be pushing our Deadpool 2 Road to Wolverine and Deadpool episode back a bit because we are going to have 2 awesome spotlight episodes coming with Professor X, Ross Marquand, and Magneto, Matthew Watterson. So we have 2 spotlight episodes. We're going to release those Friday and Monday, I believe. We're going to make sure we're recording those after today's show. So we have to make sure we can get them edited. And I believe, though, we will have no problem getting those out there Friday and Monday. So super exciting stuff coming up on Phase Zero. Make sure you are subscribed to the YouTube channel because those will be on video. If you're listening to us in podcast form, those bonus episodes as spotlight episodes, as they're focused on the actors and their stories, will also be available, of course, in podcast form. So thank you so much for hanging with us. Deadpool 2 will still be happening, probably just about 1 week later. Fortunately, we started our road to Deadpool and Wolverine X-Men movie rewatch-a-thon early enough where we can have that luxury of moving things around and not stacking episodes on top of each other. But yes, GeekFi, you got a shout, and Deadpool 2 is next to answer your question in the YouTube comments. Over 1,000 people watching live to end the show. Thank you so much for joining us. Subscribe to the channel on YouTube, youtube.com/c/phase0. Leave us a 5-star review on all the major podcast platforms. Play our show for your mom. Play it for your dog. Hit me up at Brandon Davis BD. If for some reason you haven't heard enough of me yapping and you want to talk more, we will see you with 2 Spotlight episodes and regularly scheduled Wednesday show next week. Have a good weekend, everybody.